Hey guys, this is how free-to-play games took over. Watching the recent Apple event where they announced Apple Arcade, something really struck me. Paid games kind of seem like they're dying. Not only is Apple rolling out a subscription service with exclusive downloadable games, but Microsoft has been pushing Xbox Game Pass, which is essentially the same concept. Even companies like Sony, Nvidia, and Google are all pushing subscriptions for cloud gaming. Remember the days of paying a few dollars to play Flappy Bird or Temple Run? I mean, I can't even remember the last time I bought a game on my phone. Instead, something more nefarious has absolutely taken over. Free to play. Now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here. I have spent hours and hours, not to mention probably more than I'd like to admit, playing Clash Royale.
How much have you spent?
It's not important.
No, I want to know, how much have you spent on Clash Royale?
It's impossible to find out. That's the number that's only known to...
If you look on your iTunes purchase history, it will tell you.
Matt, do we have to do this right now?
Yup.
$4.99, $9.99, $9.99. Scroll, I'm not seeing a lot of Clash Royale here. Oh, look at this. Oh, $9.99, $5, or $4.99, $4.99, and $0 the very first time I ever bought Clash Royale. What's the total?
45.
See? I said 40. That's not so bad for playing a game for a year.
I've definitely spent over $100 on Pokemon Go.
I spent $300 on rhythm games.
Yeah.
Look at this, the guy who spent the least money in the office. On one hand, it's not the worst idea in the world, right? I mean, generally speaking, a free-to-play game handles making money in a few different ways. Some games, such as Fortnite as well as Apex Legends, offer the ability to pay for cosmetics which look cool but don't actually add anything to the game. On the other, we have games like Clash Royale, which allows you to spend real-world money to unlock boxes or in-game currency, something you can do without paying, but it requires way more grinding. It's not always that seamless, however. We've all heard horror stories of people addicted to apps like Candy Crush or Pokemon Go if you're Matt, Josh, and Jimmy. However, if you're not careful, players can sink hundreds if not thousands into a game. On Pokemon Go alone, players worldwide spend around $2 million per day. It's a lot of Pokeballs. What do you buy on Pokemon Go?
Raid passes, incubators.
How about rare candies, hyper potions, repel?
I don't have time to explain to you how wrong you are. A repel in Pokemon Go would defeat the purpose, okay? Second of all, you get hyper potions all the time for spinning stops. Rare candies you can only get from raids, so you need the raid passes. You plebe.
Look what you did.
Now, free games are absolutely nothing new. An entire generation of gamers grew up playing simple and free Flash games, and before that, games such as Doom were readily available as shareware, but free-to-play is a little different. Games like Runescape were one of the first titles to really divide between free and paying players. In 2002, they introduced a $5 monthly membership, which included quite a bit of extra content that wasn't available in the free version, including a larger map as well as exclusive items. Other games in the 2000s, such as Counter-Strike Online, solidified the business model by introducing the idea of virtual currency to purchase things in-game. Now, this is a fundamental part of many free-to-play games today. You can earn currency in-game by grinding, but generally it is far easier, if not basically required, to spend real-world money to get that sweet new gun or skin. The freemium model that we're all familiar with really took off with League of Legends in the late 2000s, reaching over 100 million monthly active players. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with just how massive League is. The tournaments alone draw tens of thousands of in-person fans with prizes in the millions of dollars. Now, it's all based on a free game that you're encouraged to spend real money on for your favorite champions and skins. A lot of people have a bad perception of free-to-play, but there's no denying that it is a massive segment of the gaming market. I mean, I know I used to spend hours and hours playing StarCraft 2, a game that in large part kicked off esports as we know them today. The biggest difference between StarCraft and League, though, was the business model. StarCraft cost $60, where League was free. It should be no surprise that back in 2017, a full 7 years after release, Blizzard finally gave up and spun the multiplayer component out of StarCraft into a free-to-play version with the good old favorite microtransactions. Yay. A more recent example is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, better known as PUBG. Now, this popularized the red-hot battle royale genre, but all it took was a little game called Fortnite, which had languished in development hell for years, to introduce their own fast-paced version for free, and it absolutely exploded. Though, when you say free-to-play today, most people really do think of mobile. Now sure, games such as Fortnite and PUBG have surprisingly competent portable versions, but some of the biggest moneymakers are still mobile exclusives. Companies such as Supercell, the makers of Clash of Clans and my dirty little secret Clash Royale, make huge money. In 2016, they were averaging over $5 million a day, and the company itself is valued at $10 billion. Now that is comparable to the parent company of Rockstar, the makers of those mega blockbusters like Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto. Mobile is oftentimes where these scummier aspects of free-to-play come to light. When you consider that most freemium games only have a very small percentage of their player base that ever even spend $1 in the first place, it doesn't sound like much, but it adds up quickly. If you spend money on a free-to-play game, you're likely to spend upwards of $80 a year, but in some cases, people spend hundreds. Although not this guy, 45 bucks. Then you hear stories of people who spend thousands, which is just kind of sad. Now, it is easy to blame people for wasting money, but if you look at how a lot of these games work, they very much play up the almost casino-like aspects, which can absolutely become addicting. Now, it is so easy to look at this kind of stuff and point to the wave of sometimes pretty garbage free-to-play games as ruining gaming as we all know it. But in this day where Apex Legends can surprise launch and still get millions of players literally overnight, thanks to those platforms like Twitch and YouTube, you can't deny that this is a huge part of the future of gaming. Now, if you'd like a slightly more fun story, definitely go check out our episode on how Nintendo accidentally created the PlayStation, and thank you so much for watching this episode of This Is. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell, because if you don't, Matt will lose his Pokemon Go budget, which he probably should realistically.